This is a Kirblog, and it's about Dragon Balls. This is the third in a series of 7 Kirblogs I'm doing, leading up to the release of Resurrection F, premiering in LA on April 11th. I am joined on this one by somebody very important because they've actually worked on the real show. Those of you who follow Tome also will know him as the voice of Webmaster, but more appropriately, God, you're about, what, like 700 characters on the show?
It feels like it.
I'm joined by Kyle Hebert.
Yes, thank you.
Rattle off a laundry list of just how many goddamn characters you are in this franchise by this point.
All right. Well, let's say I'm most notably known as Next Time on Dragon Ball Z. I'm the narrator. I'm also teen/adult Gohan from high school onward, so Great Saiyaman. I'm also Ugski and
West Kai.
PyCon. Let's see. I forgot.
General White from Dragon Ball, I believe, is one of them.
General White. Little lamb. Let's see. I got a big wrestler dude during the Cell Saga.
Oh, Peroshki.
Oh, yes, Peroshki.
Yeah,
and
then
Captain
I think
Chicken.
probably random dudes in GT. Oh, yeah, the most important character in all of Dragon Ball Z, Captain fucking Chicken.
That's right. And Apool. And
sometimes, I think, right? That's a sometimes case.
Yeah, I guess so. It just depends.
I think it's kind of like, all right, who's around for Apool?
Yeah, that's very, very, very much so. Yeah, and yeah, random citizens and whatnot. Yeah.
You've been working on the show since, God, you started in like 1997, 8, I think, somewhere around there.
Oh no, actually I started in summer of 2000.
Oh wow. Okay.
And one of the first things I did was like bit parts on the Bardock special, and then I was a character called King Furry on Dragon Ball Z. I guess he's like the leader of that whole nation or whatever when he talks about Cell. Oh yes, of course we must be strong to defend ourselves against Cell. And he's just a big cat, a talking cat guy who's everyone's watching the news, and he's like the leader. Let's see, a member of Mr. Bourbon's gang. That happens, a short little filler story after the Cell Saga, but before High School Gohan shows up. Yeah. Let's see, another Dragon Ball character that I'm particularly proud of, even though he doesn't have a name. He's a member of Boss Rabbit's gang. And he has glasses, and he's like stomping on Bulma's head. It's like, heads down and tell your friends, yes.
It was used an impression of somebody from Clockwork Orange, I think, right?
That is correct.
Yes,
the truant officer. Oh, poor little Alex, missing school today. Yes.
I went back and I rewatched like all of Dragon Ball, and then I was rewatching a bunch of Z episodes, and I forgot, like, I always think of just like your named characters first, but I forgot like how many, like, you were just in every episode as like some guy like all the time, and I was like, man, like you really were like a utility player for like a good while on that.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. That's the case with any anime dub. No matter how big your role is or small, chances are you're going to be filling in the gaps in between, just because, time is money and they don't have to pay you per character on this anime stuff. So there you go.
Well, not to mention, like, if it's a shonen series and there's like 7 million characters that just come and go like they're nothing. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And then, when you have a show like Dragon Ball Z, this tentpole franchise that never goes away, despite people, it's like, oh, I grew out of that. I used to watch it as a kid, not anymore. But still, I mean, the popularity and then the proof's in the pudding, right? You have all the games that come out every year. They're a wild success. That's why they keep making more. And now you have the one that just came out, Xenoverse. And, Kai is successfully airing 2 episodes a week, I guess, now on Adult Swim. So, yeah, and Battle of Gods was a huge hit, enough to greenlight, the new movie and probably many, many more in the future.
Oh, we can only hope, yes. We can only hope for more Gohan in a tracksuit.
Oh, God, yeah. Talk about depressing. Thank God for social media. When people can dig up stuff and come to me with it, it's like, what do you think of this? Like, this is terrible, but okay.
Well, I mean, Pan is born by this point. So, I mean, there's certainly nothing bad to come of it. I mean, more Gohan is always a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, and I love any opportunity there is to come back and revisit the character. So yeah.
So, Kyle, many people have done, interviews with you, and a lot of, I think people kind of generally know your story of like how you started and like your origins with Radio Disney and like how you first got in with Funny and everything. I want to talk about some other stuff, maybe some stuff that people maybe might not necessarily know from like if they dig into your history. So something that you kind of offhandedly mention sometimes that I've never even really talked to you about, and I've known you for a few years now, is that you were a fan of the show before you got on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've never really like had any info of like what was that time like? Did you just like catch like random episodes on Cartoon Network, or like did you follow it much at all? Like what was that like before you got in with Funny?
This was pre-Cartoon Network. This was before it got the Toonami block. It was on independent stations at like 4 or 5 in the morning on Saturdays. And this was in the mid-'90s. I think the Ocean Group dub up in Canada first started airing everywhere, at least in North America, in the mid-'90s. And that's when I first heard about it. I read about Dragon Ball in Animerica magazine, which is now defunct, but I read it. That was the cover story. It's like, this sounds really interesting. It's cool. It's like not like Charlie Brown Peanuts, where everyone just stays the same, or Simpsons, no one ever ages. This one actually has a progression. These characters may start off as kids, and then they grow up, and then they get married, and they have kids, and then you follow their, and you see all that. And it's like, I wasn't used to seeing that in cartoons or anime.
So when was there any like particular thing like when you were watching it like at that time, like it must have been long before the connection to doing stuff at Funimation, like was there any like particular like moments or like favorite parts of the show that like really stuck out to you, like, oh, this is like cool? Because I mean, like, because when you came in, didn't you say like you had like a DBZ like T-shirt on or something, like when you went into audition?
I did. I went to a local anime shop that had all these horrible bootleg iron-on shirts, and it was off-center and everything, and I thought in my infinite wisdom I would go in and impress them. It's like, I'm a fan of the show, I'm going to go in and do that. And it's like, that's the totally wrong thing to do. They told me after they hired me, they said, dude, we wrote you off the second we saw you. But we loved your audition, so here you are.
Yeah, thank God you were
okay.
awesome, and you were rock, because you read for Gohan first, right? And then they had you do other stuff ahead of time, and then eventually when Gohan showed up, then you started actually doing it.
Yeah, I tried out for Gohan because that's the first. I mean, I show up at this audition in August of 2000. I look at these 3-ring binders, said male, and then they had a separate one for female, and they said just pull whatever 3, 4, 5 whatever roles you want to read for, and we'll come get you in a few minutes. It's like, all right. So I open up the binder, and with the first one there is Gohan. It's like, I'm definitely reading for Gohan. I know who that is. Everybody else was brand new characters, and I had no idea. There's no indication of, it's like, is this a major character or a one-episode one? And I guess that's fair that they don't let people auditioning know that, because everyone would only try out for the big parts, right?
Right.
So I do that. I go in. I forget who all I read for. I probably picked 4 or 5 at least. And 2 weeks later, Chris Sabat called me and said, congratulations, it's Chris Sabat, Funimation Productions. We'd like to bring you in and do some voices for us. Yes, thank you. Woo! I hung up the phone. I tried to call my parents. They didn't answer. I called all my best friends. None of them were home. I'm like, I just had to just bounce around the apartment and just like, whoa, oh my God, my dream's coming true. I'm a fan of the show, and I get to be on the show. And it's something I've always wanted to do voiceover for animation. And it's my first gig. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting to do this in Dallas, Texas. I thought I was going to have to move to L.A., and I knew that eventually I would move to L.A., and that's what, of course, I've done since 2005. I've been in L.A., but being in Dallas with a full-time, steady radio career, and being able to juggle that with getting onto a hit show I was already a fan of, and getting into voice work, segueing into that was an incredible sensation.
So you go through the whole series, and then eventually you guys do all of Dragon Ball, all of GT. The games start coming in. The show and the whole franchise becomes an explosion. I mean, it and Pokemon hitting at the same time was more or less the anime explosion in like the end of the 90s for anime.
Sure. Yeah. Sailor Moon, Inuyasha, all this stuff hitting mainstream TV. The ratings are through the roof. People, the first, probably one of the first big anime bubbles starts, expanding.
For sure. And then, you mentioned, it was, I think, 2005, 2006, you moved to LA.
Yeah. We had finished all the uncut versions of DBZ and put those out and started releasing the movies in uncut form. And oh man, I just I had spiraled off of that into the other shows Funimation acquired, like Blue Gender and Yu Yu Hakusho, and then Full Metal Alchemist. And then kind of felt like, okay, my radio career is stagnating. I'm not getting called in as much at Funimation for stuff. I think I'm done here in Dallas. I think it's time to go to the West Coast and do all that. And folks like Pat Fraley, who is just one of a whole plethora of wonderful mentors out here, and very, very established teachers and animation people, said, hey, Kyle, you got what it takes. You just got to get here. Bob Bergen said the same thing, and we were, doing email back and forth, and he was listening to my demos. Pat Fraley came out to Radio Disney and did some improv workshops, and he took me aside out of the whole bunch of all the DJs and production people and writers and everyone, and he said, you're the one that I see a future in. And that meant a lot, having someone who's taught for 30 years and it has been in so many cartoons and everything, and anime to a smaller extent, but he's like, you need to get out to the West Coast.
Yep. When somebody of that caliber tells you you do that shit immediately.
yeah, exactly. That's like, what bigger sign do you need?
Yeah, when you have somebody in that level telling you, like, get out here already. So, I mean, since being here, ironically, you had gone on to do, like, practically every other show based on a Shonen Jump property outside of DBZ, doing the Mr. Satan equivalent character in Blue Dragon, designed by Akira Toriyama, and then the funniest one to me, getting Ryu, who, I don't know how much of the back and forth influence there was between, like, Street Fighter and Dragon Ball, but just the fact that, like, he kind of looks like a DBZ character. He does the Ki Blast with Hadoken, and it's like too perfect. It's like how that all this stuff works out, and you've done so much in the last, like, decade since getting out here. And, all the while, going back and forth with Dallas between the video games and, when the Kai episodes were starting up and everything, like, and conventions. You travel a lot, Dragon Ball has kept you, like, going around the goddamn planet on a constant basis. Like, I imagine that might be a little stressful and fun, but, like, how crazy is that for you, like, on a constant basis?
It's a good kind of stress, because I love visiting new places and meeting fans and of course reuniting with friends I've made through the years as I travel. And then, there's a little bit of networking too. I can meet other people in the industry that I've respected for many years, or I become their friends, and maybe eventually we all start working on a project together. It's all blossomed thanks to Dragon Ball. Every bit of success, it goes back to that. Dragon Ball and my resume in Texas led to being at a convention where Steve Bloom was at. And he says, if you come out to L.A., I'll help you. And he meant it. He actually did. He talked my demo up to folks at Studiopolis who do the Naruto dub now. And he said, this guy from Texas is really good. You should give him a shot. And then I had the chance, and then I got into Naruto. And because I was on Naruto, I had the chance to read for Bleach. And because of Bleach, I got onto Blue Dragon. And Blue Dragon, I got to, and so on and so forth. And these other things like Gurren Lagann, and getting on a bunch of games, getting onto Street Fighter, and then that leading to Disney having a cameo in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
And they said, we want the current voice of Ryu. And like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's that. I still love how much of, like, a full circle that was with Wreck-It Ralph. It was so perfect.
Yeah, it's exactly how I put it too. The producer of Wreck-It Ralph was at the final session where I had recorded that cameo 4 times, which was hysterical in itself, because that's a big, nice, lucrative session fee. And the director's laughing about it. It's like, we just keep rewriting it, and we just have to keep paying you. I'm like, I'm good with this. This is good. But the producer's there, and I said, you guys have no idea, but I actually worked for this company for 9 years, from 96 to 2005, on your radio division. It's like, oh, really? That's really awesome. It's like, yes, it was. I have nothing but fond memories of getting to be on the air and being a mashup of Jim Carrey and Robin Williams if they had a really weird baby together somehow. And then getting to do that and having that segue into something that I've also, I've had the two lifelong dreams, voiceover and radio. And then I got the radio thing pretty much out of my system, except not, because I'm still a podcaster.
Yeah.
And then, doing the voiceover transition. So getting to do everything that is spiraled off of Dragon Ball, unbelievable. Getting to walk the red carpet for an actual shindig. Last summer, the Battle of Gods dub premiere at Anime Expo, and it had all this press coverage and a red carpet, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And then having it do really well, like number 5 at the box office for an anime film in limited release, sold out screenings, unreal.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to say also popping in with that, like all the while, once a year getting to go back to Dallas and like they don't, they could never replace you on Gohan, despite like, the show's cast is shifted numerous times, into just even like singular characters or whatever, but like, there's always been the loyalty of like, no, this guy is Gohan, this guy is, Paikon, Weskai, etc., and like it's like the thing that never ends. And then with these movies in particular now, it's like, brand new stories, like a new direction to go with these characters, like sanctioned by the creator. Like, I mean, Toriyama wrote the script of the new one coming out, himself, which is massive. Any on that note, any hopes, dreams, aspirations, or things that you would like to see in Resurrection F related to Gohan or otherwise, out of curiosity?
I have a sneaking suspicion that, like Battle of Gods, he's not going to have a very big part in it. It's about Goku and Vegeta and, of course, Frieza and all that. And Gohan's involvement will most likely just be an ancillary thing, just like most of the other characters. And so, like, hey, Nostalgia Mom, you remember these guys and these girls? Like, yeah, I do. That's cool. Like, look how idiotic he looks in a tracksuit.
well, we know for sure, and we know he's now officially a daddy by the time that one comes out, because Pan is an infant, as we've seen, I think, in trailers now, and he does go Super Saiyan, which I think will hopefully shut up the internet wankers about, no, the Ultimate Gohan can't go Super Saiyan because the old kind power up. Or it's like, thank you, good. That's what the show's about, right, guys? How
about let's just retcon GT out of existence thanks to Battle of Gods, and just let's start over, right?
More or less. Although that won't stop them from throwing GT characters into the video games, because we got to fill the character slots. Why not? But yeah, so
Garlic Jr. Anybody?
Yeah, sure, why not? Absolutely. And my assumption with that is, like, because there's going to be lots of, like, Frieza soldiers back, it's like everybody gets a fight. All of the other Z characters, aside from just Goku and Vegeta, get to do something because there's something for them to do in the first place. So
right.
So more fun for you and probably Sonny and John and all the other, like, the we're not Saiyans, but we're here too, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. Hi, we're here too. We can have that moment so people can cheer in the theaters.
Yeah,
I'm all about that. That was another great surreal moment, and being in a packed theater and having people cheer every time a familiar character gets some screen time. It's like, oh, this is so cool.
Well, people cheered about, like, I mean, spoiler if you haven't seen Battle of Gods, whatever, by this point, what the hell are you doing with your life? Videl being like, hey, I'm actually pregnant, Gohan. Like, that was, like, that got, like, a big, like, oh, from everybody. Like, every time I went to go see it in theaters. I think I saw it twice in theaters, but.
Yeah, and that was a sweet moment that completely came out of left field. You weren't expecting, and it kind of goes back to that original. It harkens to why these characters and why this franchise has struck so many people. It's about bonds and characters and family and all these core values that people don't really think about nowadays, especially in the short attention span realm of the internet and flash cutting this, that, and the other. And it's like everything's quick, sound bites and this, that, and the other. It's like this is a story that takes it back, and I really, really love that moment in particular.
Well, we're just about out of time, but thank you for joining me, first of all.
Sure.
We should definitely go check it out when by the time you've recorded it, which would be, I imagine, soon, and then when it comes out in English over the summer, we should definitely go check it out. I don't know if they'll show maybe AX or something again like last year with Battle of Gods, but yeah, super excited about that. Super excited to hear you in it, and hopefully more DBZ related things, as I'm sure there will be more. While we're ending, got anything to plug? I'm sure, as always, Big Ball Broadcast and otherwise.
Yeah, Smodco, Kevin Smith's big Smodcast.com, Smodco Internet Radio. I have a geek news podcast called The Big Bald Broadcast. Me and my friend Otherworld Steve, which, of course, is a DBZ reference, but we talk about mostly like the Marvel movies and tech and video games and just any sort of pop culture thing that's going on. We post new episodes every week. And we record our shows on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we post a link so people can listen in as we record and then join a chat room so we can interact with them. And our Twitter feed is at BB Broadcast. Other than that, just follow my social feed at Kyle Hebert on Twitter and Facebook.com/Kyle HebertVO for my latest projects and latest appearances at conventions.
Sweet, yes, do all that. I'll have links to all that stuff in the description as well. And in the comments below, tell us which of Kyle's characters do you enjoy the most, or which of those are you looking forward to in the new movie or the next game, or do you play as any of them in Xenoverse? All your general thoughts. Do you want to listen to the Big Ball broadcast? Did you go to Kyle's old forum from 700 years ago on his website?
House of Bean Dip, yes. Yeah.
Oh God. Let us know, and that'll do it. And I'll see you on the next one. I don't know who the next guest is going to be, but either way, yes. Look forward to that. Kyle, thank you again for joining, and say bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.